Hey everybody, in the last video we started setting up our navigation, so our navigation should be working now. Let's actually click the links. So you see the router is working. See New York, Hartford, Boston, Providence. Very nice. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now what we want to do is the following. Okay, wait, warning received for true for a non-Boolean attribute, class name. Well, I don't think did I take out class name? Oh, I see. I forgot to take that out. So let's just take that out from all these divs. Cannot get Providence. Why cannot get Providence? Well, let's go back to the main page. Okay, we're good. Oh, I see, because it refreshed. Okay, and then we should probably actually make this logo a link back to home. So let's go back to header. We also need to bring in the link tag here. From React router DOM. And all I want to do is just make this h1 here a link to slash. So we can always go back to the main page by clicking on the logo. Cool. Okay, and let's actually put some stuff in home. So home, I want to wrap in a main tag. And that's what I'll do for pretty much the remaining components, because that way I can just say main tags content is centered. And usually what I would do, like I didn't organize this very well, but I would say do something like this, like set up, just put some titles around here. Then I put something like header. This way, as I go through my style sheet, I can see where things are at. Okay. Page body. Okay. Main. What I want here is do text align center. Save. And why did it fail to compile? Let's take a look. It doesn't like. Oh, I see, because I put this should be like around the closing h1 tag. So let's go back to header. Take this, cut it, paste. There we go. Go back to the main page. Okay, cool. So again, I can get, let me go to the main page. And the main page right now, home, for some reason doesn't seem to have anything. No, it should. I remember deleting the contents of home. Oh, I did. Now that I remember. I just made that main tag. Okay, we're just gonna put something really simple. Click the links above to find. Oh, actually, this is an H3. H3, click the links above to find bathrooms in that city. Real simple. I mean, I could put more content and whatnot later on, but this is just, again, a exercise. Cool. So that component's set. It's just there to be a landing page for when you first get home. Now, there's only one more component left, list. So the idea is here to create a component that'll do what I need no matter which link clicks on it. Okay, so first things first. What I'm going to do is create an object with my cities. Okay, so we'll call this object city const city equals an object. And I'm going to copy those URLs to that. So let's copy each one. Let me just close all these other files. Header, nav, styles, just list now. And then there should be a string. Okay, and then I want to change this to New York because I want it to match the slug in the URL. Okay, and then I'm going to grab Boston. Okay, and then wrap this up in. The only reason I'm doing it this way is because technically Boston's not something I can put in the URL. The URL has to be like latitude and longitude, and I figured this made more sense versus putting the latitude and longitude in the URL. Either approach probably would have worked. Then Hartford, let's make that lowercase. Okay, and then we'll make Providence, but let me just add that comma. And I'm debating whether I want to keep this in the global scope or put this back into the function. I mean, it doesn't make a big difference right now. I'm just trying to think of it like either one makes more sense. Because basically the trade-off is if I put it here in the global scope, it'll always be sitting there in memory. But if I put it here in the function scope, it gets recreated every time the component gets re-rendered. I still think it gets garbage collected, but I'm going to leave it here for now. In the global scope. Cool. Okay. So now this component gets rendered. We're going to want to have a state for the data. Okay. So we're going to create const list set list equals react.useState. So it's a piece of state. And it's going to start out as n. Actually, I'm going to start it out as null. So that way it's falsy until an actual call is made. You'll see why I do that in a bit. So when this component mounts, I want there to be an API call. So what I want to do is do a useEffect, react.useEffect, because I don't want that to happen over and over again. Just want it to happen once. Okay, the only issue I have is I need just to make sure that I know what I'm working with. So let me just do console log props. So make sure what data I have in props, save. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on New York. And then here we have our props. So that's what I want to know. Match. So it would be props.match.params.city. Okay, so that's what I wanted to know. Okay, so let's set up that variable const city. Wait, did I already use city? I think I did. Or we'll just say selected. Okay, equals props.match.params.city. That'll just be easier to work with. Okay. Okay. And why does that break when I refresh? I'll explain that in a bit. The reason is because technically, if I go here, Harvard, the URL says Harvard, but when the page refreshes, right now, React Router is only mocking the behavior of having like different pages, but when you refresh, it doesn't know that it's all one page. So instead of making a request back to the index, the slash, to the server to get back that one page, it's going to make a request for a page called /Hartford, and the server that's serving our website is not going to be aware that there's such a route. So it does this. Okay, so that's Express saying, oh, I haven't heard of this. Okay, there is a way to deal with it. What you do is you make like a catch-all route on your server that always just sends back the same file, sends back the same page. But this is a development server, so we're not customizing all the routes. And there's different ways to deal with it, but conversation for another time. Okay. So let's see here. So we know what we have selected in props now. Now what I want to do is I want to make this API call. So I'm going to copy the code that I have for the API call here, since I already have that all sketched out. Okay, see the benefit of prep work. Cool, and I'm just going to make this bigger so that way. Now in this case, I don't want to pull this URL necessarily. So which URL do I want to pull? One from that object up there. So the object is called city, and the particular city I want to pick is the one that's selected. So let's see if that works. So let's go back to our page. Now if I click Hartford, okay, we got 10 results. Let's see, are they in Hartford? Yeah, that looks like Hartford. Cool. Okay, now let's see what happens. If I switch to Boston, does it do it again? It does not. Oh, wait, it did. Did it? Did it? Yes, it did. Nice. Okay. Okay, interesting. Although I think that might be just because I don't have an empty array here. So if I add the empty array, let's see if it still does the call again after each click. So first one, I have, okay, there's New York. If I click on Hartford, does it make another call? See, this time it doesn't make another call because useEffect needs to know when to rerun, okay? And the problem is if I don't leave that array, if I don't put the array there at all, I run the risk of like an infinite loop for some reason. So what I can do here is just say, hey, whenever selected changes, so if that changes value, then run the search once again. Okay, so let's try that. Because the thing you have to realize about router, all these links are actually taking you to the same component. And because it's going to be kind of in the same spot, it doesn't necessarily re-render the component. So that's why we're going to have to, well, it'll be something we'll have to deal with in a bit. Although technically I've kind of already dealt with it by making it where this is going to rerun this call anytime that selected variable changes. So here, see we got the 10 from Hartford, 10 from New York. Then I go to Hartford, and see I get the 10 from Hartford. And the reason is because this selected variable changes, so this useEffect, because again, it doesn't have to be state. It can be any variable in here, as long as it changes value. The one thing you have to keep in mind, though, is that when, see, this is technically linking to the individual string that I have in city, which is a primitive value. So then when I change strings, that's considered an actual change. Versus, let's say, properties. So basically, if it's the same string, it won't rerun it again. Although, if this were an object, well, objects are a whole new address pretty much every time you render the component. So it'll always rerun the function if you're putting like an object here as what changes. So generally, the simple thing to do is just to always use like an individual property. That's like a number, a boolean, a string, some sort of primitive value, because it'll better capture when there's actual changes. Okay, and you can put multiple values. Okay, there are ways to make the object thing work. It's just more complicated. Okay, that's when you start getting into like use memo hooks and use callback hooks, and let's not go down that rabbit hole. Okay, cool. So what I want to do then is I want to set the data. Let me just see what did that data look like. It was just an array. Yep. So it gave me straight away the array. That's awesome. Okay. So then what it's going to do is give me the array. So we're going to do set data, not set data, set list to data. Save. Okay. And then let's see, what did that data originally look like here? Oh, it's not showing me now. Set list to data. Is that what we called it? Data. Yep. Yeah, that looks all good. Looks like there's some sort of warning in the browser, so let's take a look. Get 404 Hartford. Oh, okay, that's just because I'm going to this page. Okay, so let's go to New York. Let's look in state. So in list, and yep, there's the array of hotels, of bathrooms. Very nice. Okay, cool. So now all that's left to do is just a matter of mapping it to the screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in a div. Actually, no, I should do this in a main tag. And in that main tag, there's a div. Just make it easy to refer to styling. If I can avoid having to use a class or an ID, I try to avoid it. Just because it just means less stuff in the code. Making it cleaner to read, and makes my CSS a little bit easier to read as well. Because it's much easier to understand, okay, hey, I'm styling a div that's in the main tag. Okay. And then that div that's in the main tag, we're going to want to make that a flex box. Display flex. Flex. And then I want to have it have a flex wrap of wrap. Because there's going to be little cards in there, and we're going to wrap them. And flex wrap, I want it to be space justify content. I want it to be space around, just because I've done this 1,000 times, so I kind of know what properties I want. I think that's good for now. We can go back and clean it up a little bit more afterwards. Cool. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to do data.map or list.map. And then each item in the list is a location, so we'll just say lock for location. And we're going to return some JSX, so we'll put some parentheses. And for now, I'm just going to put an H1 that says, I think it's, let's take a look at the data. Okay, oh, I broke it. Okay, right now it's broken. That page. Probably because this isn't the same thing. Okay. Doesn't like something. Oh, I probably should wrap this in a parenthesis. And let's save that. Okay, let's see if it still doesn't like that. Yeah, it's definitely not liking something. Oh, I know why. Okay, so here's the problem that's happening now. It's trying to map over something that doesn't exist. Because again, I initialized this is null. So right now list is undefined. So it's trying to run map on something that doesn't have map. So see, cannot read property map of null. So even though it's going to do the API call, it's going to render the website once before that data exists. So the first time it runs it, it's null. So I could change this to an array and that would fix it temporarily, but I rather do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to return list and do a question mark. It's a ternary operator, meaning only do this if list is a truthy value. Null is falsy. So as long as I have no information, it's not going to render anything. And then what I'm going to do is that after this, then I'll put a JSX. So the colon means false, so anything after the colon is false. I'll put h1 loading. So that'll say loading until it's done loading. Okay, that should actually fix the problem. So let's go back. Oh, refresh. I click on Hartford. See, it says loading, and then it loads. Cool. Okay, and right now it just says disdiff. That's fine. Okay, it's complaining about each shell. I need to put a key property in there. I'll come back to that. Let's first just study the components. Or each of these things here. Hartford name. Okay. So let's just try that out. Lock.name. And that's got to be in curly brackets. There we go. See? And then it lists where the bathrooms are. Okay, so let's get in there. Okie dokie. So I don't want to do this as this. I want to make a separate component. New file. We'll just call it a location.js. And let's see here. Which one's quick to copy? Or I'll just copy this one. No, not that one. Yep, there we go. That's simple enough. So location.js. And we'll come back to this. I'm just going to change this to location. Okay, and save that. I want to import that into list. Import location from React. No, not from React. From location. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to render a location component. So I can, again, I don't want these components getting too crazy in one component. And then I'm going to pass the location as prop. So location equals lock. Okay. And there we go. So then now that's just going to render one for each thing. So just to go back to show you. Click on Hartford, loading, and see right now it's just generating that text for each one in the array. So that's fine. Now we can go here and work on this. I want to destructure that location from the I want to destructure it from props. So const location equals props, and then I also want this to be a article tag, so we can style it as a card. So again, something I haven't used yet. Cool. In here we want an h4, and this will be the location.name. Start with that. Although let's do some initial styling on these cards. Article. I want the max width, or we'll say the width, to be 33%. Oh, let's just say width is 300 pixels. That's what I like to do with cards, because technically, even on the smallest screen, it should be at least 300 pixels width, and it generally like fits nicely on larger screens as well. It just works and it wraps, because again, each of these divs are a flex. Each of these article tags is going to be an item in the flex box, so they'll wrap. I'll put a border, so that way it's clear you can see where these cards. 2 pix, solid red. Okay, let's give them a fixed height though. Height 400. Well, let's give it 250 pixels for now. 250 pixels, and I want there to be some padding or some margin around them. So we'll say margin 10 pixels, so that way they're not all slamming into each other. Okay. So let's see how that's looking so far. Refresh. Okay. And then I click on Hartford. It says loading. And see, now we have these cards. Okay, so probably we can make the font a little bit smaller so that we don't have this kind of thing going on. Cool. But see, we're starting to see, and now if I go to Boston, see it changes. We're getting the effect that we want. Let me see here. Looks like it's still getting Boston. I'll have to come back and fix that object in a bit. Let's see here. Are they the same URL by chance? No, they shouldn't be. Go back to list. Yeah, no, I have the 2 different URLs for Boston. Oh no, yeah, I still have the same thing for Boston for some reason. So I'll have to go back and fix that. Well, actually, I can just fix that real quick right now. Let's bring up the bathroom place. Yeah, here's Rhode Island. Let me grab the latitude for Providence. Put that in the URL. I go grab the longitude. Okay. There we go. Just make sure to compare that to Boston. Yes, slightly different. Good. Let's take a look at the app. There we go. That looks like what I want. Back to the main page. Okay. Cool. So first things first, let's make this an H6. See if H6 works better. Cool. Because generally, again, with the 300 width, even on the smallest phone, this should still work. See, like right here, I have an iPhone 5 SE, and that width still fits, and that instead they just end up becoming perfectly a column. Okay, so it makes it where I have to do less mobile styling later, because my cards are kind of measured in a way that'll scale well. Although it could use some padding in those cards, so let's go add some padding. Styles, padding, 10 pixels. See how that's looking. So this is how it looks like on mobile. So I will have to go back and like fix up the menu for mobile. But yeah, let's click on Okay, and see, that's not a bad effect. Cool. Let's go back to location. Actually, I should probably look at the data here. So I'm going to go back to components here. I want to go down the list. And what I want to do, just take a look at what properties I have. So I have name. And then what we really want is like things like street, city, state. Okay. Accessible unisex. That should be fine. So street, city, state, states. Oh, and they have an ID. Okay, so we want that. Because we need to fix that key issue over here. So let's do that. So again, it wants a key in each property. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a key here. And we're going to add lock.id as the key. Good. Okay, so now it doesn't like it. What doesn't like? Div main. Just doesn't like that, I guess. Oh, I'm all the way down here. So there we go. It's looking fine. Okay. So that should get rid of the warning, this key thing, because just that way, make sure that each location has everything that's being looped over has a unique key, which helps the shadow DOM or the virtual DOM better handle changes, which is going to make your site run a little bit better. It's more of a performance issue. And also just so that we don't get unpredictable re-renders. So that's there. So it's not really something you'll see visually. Okay, so back over here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a UL and an LI. And we will have street, location.street. Okay, and then we'll just have a couple more of these. Street, city, state. So city, state, whether it's accessible, and whether it's unisex. Save. Okay, let's take a last look at this, and then we'll stop this video before we do one more. Okay. Just click on Hartford. Okay, yeah, so that I'll have to fix up a little bit. Why are the ULs styled like that? We'll examine that. Let's see. Let's take that off. Yeah, that doesn't look the way it should. Am I wrapping this up in a heading tag somewhere? Let me go back to my styles. Okay, because body we put main font. Okay, so let me just do this. Let's do font family var main font. See if that makes things a little bit nicer. Boston. Okay, that's a little bit of improvement, but those bullets look huge. Okay, article LI font size. I want to say it's like 0.4 ems. Let's start with that. Should look pretty small. That's too small. And the location of the bullets, that's also very odd. I think it's because it's lining them up. Let me take a look at the way these are relative to each other. So let's go over here. Here's an article. But yeah, so see, they're wrapped in an H1. That's the problem. So that means I didn't properly close that H1 in that. So this is why it's always good to kind of refer to this. So let's take a look here. Location, let's see, is the H1 in there? No. Is the H, so that means the H1 must be in list. Oh, that's right. You don't need this anymore. I just need to get rid of the H1. There we go. Save. Now let's see how this is looking. Okay, that's better. Those bullets are still a problem. I'll probably just remove them. And let's first get stuff back to a normal size. So I'll just get rid of this for now, or just comment it out until I need it again. Okay, it's kind of starting to look a little bit better, although now this is starting to look a little small. So let's go back to list here, or location. Let's make this an H3 again. There we go, save. And I think we'll be back in action. Yeah, there we go. I just have to get rid of those bullets, put a little space. We'll do that in the next video. I'll see you guys there.